Managing air traffic and the airspace is dynamic, and the world is moving off the ground. This means satellite-based air traffic management is in. Let's get to hear from our guest as he explains the term performance-based navigation and the obvious advantages for safety.
We develop what we call area navigation approaches, and then we also develop standard instrument departures for aircraft leaving the airports. And we also have what we call performance-based routes, PBN routes, that are also going to facilitate the direct flying of aircraft from one point to the other using satellite-based system. The limitation of the ground-based facilities is that you fly from one point to the other, from one one source point navigational facility to the other. For example, an equipment is located in Lagos. You have to fly from Lagos to the one in Ibadan, from Ibadan to the one in Bida, Bida to Abuja. Now, NAMA has restructured the airspace to reduce flight time, reduce the distance that is flown between 2 points, and reduce fuel consumption, reduce workload for the flight crew. And these routes are based on what I call the same performance-based navigation using satellite system. It's the same location for any aircraft flying from any point. Once you use that coordinate, it can take you from one point to the other, and you don't need to fly from one equipment on ground to the other, and you don't need any ground-based equipment when you're flying. So what our operators need to do is to be able to equip their aircraft with the required avionics systems to be able to fly the performance-based navigation. And it is also required by the Nigerian Civil Aviation regulations that airlines should get approval, what we call operators approval. Operators approval requires that flight crews should be trained to fly the performance-based navigation because it's a modern system. It also requires the aircraft should be equipped. It also requires that there should be a specification of this procedure in the operating manual of the airline. And with that, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority can grant approval for any Nigerian registered aircraft or operator to fly based on performance-based navigation. It reduces the emission of gas into the environment since you fly shorter routes, reduces workload on the pilot and the air traffic controllers, more efficient, more reliable for any operator. But unfortunately, a lot of our operators, maybe because of the capital investment required in refitting their aircraft, probably don't have this capacity. As I'm talking, very few of them are actually utilizing these facilities, except the international airlines. They fly the PBN procedures every time they're into our airspace. We implemented that in 2012, like I said, in Lagos, Abuja, Kano, and Port Harcourt. We implemented additional ones in October 2015 in about 16 domestic airports. So it is available for airlines that are equipped to be able to fly into these airports. And we've also gone further to provide some other enhanced services that I also want to mention, which also requires aircraft to be re-equipped for them to fly that. In 2015, November 12, Nigeria implemented what we call the Automatic Dependent Surveillance System. It's a satellite-based system of surveillance in addition to the ground surveillance system we have called TRACON. This system has a high level of reliability, being that it is using satellite-based system. It also has a high level of accuracy and also availability of the service. Now, on the 19th of November, we implemented the same thing in Kano. So the Nigerian airspace is totally covered by satellite surveillance system, in line with the global migration from ground-based system to satellite-based systems. We implemented what we call Controller Pilot Data Link Communication System, CPDLC. It was implemented also in Lagos and in Kano on the 12th of November in Lagos, on the 19th of November in Kano. This is a performance-based communication capacity, and it is to mitigate the challenges we had with radio communication. You might have heard a few times here and there. Yes, those complaints were genuine. We had challenges in communication. We had to mitigate that. What we did was to provide another form of communication to mitigate that, and that is communication by data link. It has no limit in terms of range. You can contact an aircraft from even outside the Nigerian airspace. And again, the issue of communication actually started as a result of the remodeling that affected our satellite communication system in Jos. It was completely removed to allow for expansion of the terminal building, and it had to be relocated, and that created a lot of communication gap for us. But at the moment, we're going through new projects that will be able to provide new systems of communication. We call it the AIS Automation Project. We have 26 VSAT networks at all the airports, and this will provide us connectivity for all our airports, both ground to ground and also air to ground communication system, both by voice and data link.
"33,000 feet up in the cloudless sky, passengers sitting or sleeping and probably enjoying the journey, eating a meal or powering through the movie channels. Here are 5 more weird things to think about when you fly. On land, water boils at 100 degrees. On a plane, however, the reduced pressure interferes with the boiling process and the water starts to boil at around 90 degrees. This is why it's hard to get a good tasting coffee when you're thousands of feet in the air. It's true, food does taste different when you're flying. Passengers are more dehydrated on a plane than when they're on the ground. The atmosphere dries out the mouth, nose, and also the taste buds. And as the plane climbs higher, the change in air pressure numbs about a third of the taste buds, causing food to taste bland. And that's according to experts. Each company has their own internal and unique rules. However, there's one rule identical for all of them. The first and the second pilots, without any exceptions, must eat different dishes. The first pilot eats the food given in the first and in the business class, while the second is served with separate dishes. Thereby, airlines are reducing the risk of poisoning of all crew, leaving no one to fly the plane. Samoa Air, a South Pacific carrier, was the first to announce that they were to start charging passengers based on their weight. This sparked a debate on how overweight passengers should be treated when flying. It's still a gray area, but subsequently, Southwest and also American Airlines currently state on their website that you must buy 2 seats if you cannot fit into one. The wings are designed to move in this way, and this movement is entirely normal because what is happening is that the upward and downward movements of the plane's aluminum alloy body are rippling out along the wings. The tips of a large airliner wing, which can be 30 meters long, can move up and down as much as 3 meters during flight. This may seem very worrying, but is well within their tolerance for bending. The important thing to remember is that no modern aircraft has ever been brought down by turbulence, although passengers have been injured or even killed, either because they weren't wearing seat belts and hit their heads on the ceiling, or because heavy luggage fell out of the overhead lockers. Turbulence is caused by sudden change, either in temperature or wind direction in the outside air, and is entirely normal. As for the lightning, pilots are able to avoid most storms and fly around or above them.
Aviation security is everyone's business. That's the thrust of our special report after the break. Do join us again.